Human rights are important and they need to be preserved. However, the needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Corporal punishment has been abolished in South Africa for many years now, and I think we're starting to see the repercussions of that decision. I asked a lady once, I think she works somewhere in the government, she's worked with some decision makers or some of these legislature when it was being made or whatever. Sorry, just need to move this to a fair distance. There we go. And she explained to me that a decision like that was made off of the back of certain people abusing their kids and making them work too much, and then also punishing them way overboard to a point where it's not just punishment anymore, it's now abuse. And I can get that, but I just feel like we're now suffering the consequences of that because we decided that instead of actually figuring out a way of solving or of punishing the people who abuse children, we decided let's just scrape it all off. You cannot correct your child through certain actions. And we now find ourselves in an ill-disciplined state. Of course, there's many other factors contributing to that, to us being ill-disciplined, but that I believe is one of them. And in fact, it is one major one. My point though is not that. What I want to talk about is something related to that, similar in a way, but not exactly that. And I just want to also disclaim that a lot of the things that I mentioned, a lot of the things that I portray out here are not things that are necessarily originally my ideas. I listen to other people speak, I watch other people speak, I read, I try to educate myself, because what is important to me is to help other people grow. What is most important to me is to help the country grow and essentially help the continent grow. We need to become better than what we are. We need to live better than what we are. We need to value human beings better than we do currently. But it is difficult for us to continue to want to do that, to strive to achieve that while we live in this current system in which we find ourselves, which wasn't designed by us, which wasn't culminated by us. But I think that it is up to us, the onus is on us to work towards creating a better future, towards creating a better environment, and ultimately creating a better country and continent. All, if not most, definitely all, most, whatever. Most of the superpowers in the world, and these are countries that are seen as giants, their economies are great, they produce incredible technologies, and their products are used all over the world and they're respected. All of them, on some level, to some extent, have been built. Oh, that's nice. Have been built off of the back, off of the sweat, off of the blood of other people. Now, historically, these are slaves. Yes, the people are superpowers now, the countries are superpowers now, and they're not perhaps using slaves directly now, but they've benefited from a history of slavery, they've benefited from a history of very cheap labor. I'll talk about South Africa as an example. 30 years back, I'll just go to 30 years because currently we're at a really bad economic state. 30 years back, South Africa was somewhat of a global superpower. And it was built off of the backs of black people. There was an apartheid system which separated people by the basis of race. And the black people were used as slave labor. Yes, they were paid to keep them alive. Yeah, they had no, they don't have benefits actually. But a great country was built, and this great country was built off of the backs of those people who were used, abused, and the other word that is evading me now. Exploited, that's the word, exploited, so as to build the country as it was back then. Very great country, producing a lot of stuff, very great economy, as it seemed, an incredible GDP per capita. But it turned out that the GDP was actually distributed more towards, as it is today, towards the very few people with white skins, while the rest of the people have a very small share of the GDP. That being said, it therefore becomes difficult, if not impossible, to build a superpower or sum of power without the luxury of slave labor. That then becomes a challenge, because we have to look at how did these guys become superpowers. As much as we might try to beat around the bush and swerve around the realities, the truth is that these people built these nations, these people built these great economies, these people built these great infrastructure off of the back of slave labor. And if we are to try and build something like that, we also need to have, to some extent, access to some slave labor. But of course, back to my initial statement, human rights are important. It is important for us to honor human rights. Therefore, we cannot simply take people and say that you can't be a slave, work here, build this, get very little money for it, get very little repayment. That's not the word I wanted. Get very little salary for that, but help us build this great economy off of your back, off of your sweat, and I guess eventually and essentially off of your blood. We sit here honoring human rights, and in so doing, we allow criminals, murderers, rapists, people who do so much wrong within our societies to roam free in the streets, because we're honoring human rights. And I guess because some people have money and the police force is corrupt and everyone is corrupt and all those stuff. But we have allowed other people to not take care of other people's human rights. But we then say, no, because you're human, we are going to treat you like a human being, and we are allowing you to roam free in the streets. Of course, you've done some crazy stuff. You've been corrupt. Your wife, whom you've hit, burnt with an iron or whatever, you've raped, whatever, has taken you to the police, but the police have not done anything, and you are now roaming around the streets freely. And I use that as an example because I've heard of a story of this woman who, staying with her husband, who used to rape her in front of her kids, who used to beat her up. He literally used to take an iron and find her iron and take an iron and put it on her. This woman had been to the police many times, and this man kept on being freed. Eventually, she had no other choice but to murder him, because she tried to get out of that, but he told him that if you try to divorce me, I'm going to kill you. She had no other choice but to kill her. At the end, she was then imprisoned. The person who had destroyed her human rights, who had completely disregarded her human rights, was roaming free all along. She kept on taking him to jail, he kept on getting out, and he threatened to kill her, and she couldn't get any protection. But the only thing that she could do was to kill him, but then that landed her in jail. We cared about the human rights of this person, but we never cared about the human rights of this person and the rights of the children who have to be traumatized and now have to live with a mother who is in prison and a father who is in jail, who is dead, because we never considered how important the needs of the many are as opposed to the need of the few. All that being said, we have a large workforce, large number of people like this person who are just a menace to society. They're not contributing positively. They're not helping with the overall outlook, the overall trajectory of the country. These are people that are going out to harm society, to harm the communities, to harm our economy. These people do not deserve to be treated humanely. They do not deserve to have their human rights recognized. These people are people that we can then say, you should be in prison, first of all. And once you are in prison, we can then build this economy, build this country, build our societies off of your sweat, off of your blood. Because you did not care about actually doing your bit to help the economy. And now here you are, you're in jail, you're just feeding off of our backs. You're getting food every day, you're getting a bed, you're getting all these benefits, you're getting healthcare, but you're not helping the economy grow. So I'm saying, and this is not my idea again, this is ideas that I've heard from other people, which I advocate for which I advocate. And I'm saying, yes, we need slave labor to be able to build a great economy. Because you're going to try to build that, and there's going to be minimum wages, there's going to be all these rules and regulations that do not allow you to use people in a way that maximizes output. And that's why you end up having people hiring illegal foreigners, people doing all these funny things, because they understand that You cannot do that with a South African citizen, but you can exploit an illegal foreigner. And then that ends up culminating in us having a huge influx of illegal foreigners that we cannot control or choose not to control. But I'm saying if we then say, stay out, we don't need any illegal foreigners coming in, we don't need that extra. We have a lot of people within our country that actually need to work, that actually need work, that actually can work. We actually have a lot of people who have had the choices of working, but have decided to abuse the rights of other people. You've decided to be a murderer, you've decided to be a criminal, you've decided to kill a person just to get their cell phone, whatever. You've decided to do some crazy stuff. You come and work here. There's a road that needs to be built. Come and build that road. There's a building that needs to be constructed. Yeah, maybe we'll be scared to let them build buildings because maybe they'll sabotage it. But then the engineers are there, and the foremen are there, and they'll watch. But these are the people that we can be using to try and help build the economy and try and help build the country. And yes, we will be taking away their rights from them. But again, the needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few. And the needs of the whole country far outweigh the needs of these few people who do not even deserve it because they've taken away the rights and the needs of other people. So let us use these people. And it also would work hopefully as a deterrent for more people to keep doing that crazy stuff that lands you in there. Which again, maybe might take us back to us not having slave labor anymore to use. But I think within a few years, we can build something that we can then grow in a just way after having used these people, which somewhat would be just, use these people to build up our economy, to build up our communities, to build up our country. Thank you for watching.